Is this like heavy? Yeah, but I didn't want to pass up this opportunity because I feel like there's a lot of people that are going through a hard time. It's okay. It's going to be okay. You're going to get through this. Just take it moment by moment. Don't think about this evening. Don't think about tomorrow. Just take a deep breath, live in this moment, and know it's going to be all right. This too shall pass, my friends. I found love in a hopeless place. I found love in a hopeless place. And today, I want to talk to you about finding hope in a hopeless place. Because I know a lot of you are struggling, and I think it's really important to remember hope is always available. Welcome to the Unlock Lab. I'm your host, Tosca DiMatteo, and this is episode 44. This is the final episode of the year, and it became really clear to me that we just have to talk about hope for a little while. But before we dive in, for you that are new to the podcast, welcome. I'm so glad you're here. I'm Tosca DiMatteo. I'm a keynote speaker and career transformation coach, and I do the work to help people at the intersection of personal growth and professional breakthroughs. If you want to learn more about how I can help you, your team, or the conference you're planning, please learn more at coachtosca.com. That's Coach TOSCA.com. So I started this episode with a little Rihanna, from time to time. These episodes just remind me of a song or a phrase. It's funny because I wanted to come on here and talk to you about hope and finding hope. And if it's not you that's needing hope, maybe somebody in your life is needing to rediscover hope. And I really think at the end of the day, finding hope and feeling hopeful, it is about finding love in a hopeless place, whether that's love for yourself, love for others, love for a potential future that you imagine. I think it is kind of coming back to the things that light us up. And I think that at the end of the day, finding hope is also about connecting to other people. When we're feeling hopeless, I think it's not about looking at institutions, not looking at plans on a piece of paper, but rather truly finding other people that inspire you and remind you of what's possible, remind you of your own light and of the light that is coming at the end of the tunnel that you might be in. And I think that this is why my favorite genre is memoirs. And it's also why I end up watching like every single underdog movie ever, because these things keep me hopeful. They keep me hopeful about what's possible when we're feeling down and out, and what's possible when we put one foot in front of another and we keep going no matter what mud we feel like we're in, no matter the sludge, no matter how dark it is around us. And, it reminds me of, some of these things you see online, like if there's darkness all around you, it is you that might be the light. And at the end of the day, I think that it is digging into your reserves, digging into the remembering of who you are and what you've overcome already in your life that can help you rediscover hope. And, it makes me think of the popularity of Ted Lasso at a time when the world was looking for something or someone to lift us up. And we found that in Ted Lasso because Ted had an infectious optimism and belief in other people, even when they gave him every reason not to. We lost connection with each other. We had to rediscover who we were. Many of us had to do that. And I think Ted gave us hope because he reminded us the best of humanity and the best of believing in ridiculous dreams. So if you haven't watched Ted Lasso, highly recommend. It's on Apple. And no, I'm not getting paid for this. But if anyone from Apple is listening, by all means, feel free to reach out. But yeah, and I've thought a bit about this topic as I realized that I wanted to bring it to the forefront as my last topic of the year. When I think of hope, I think of it as something that's hard fought. It's not something that we circumvent and bypass our hard feelings, our difficult emotions, but it's something that we cultivate because we know the journey is difficult. And we also know that there's great possibilities. I can't help but think of the Audacity of Hope book written by President Barack Obama because he really articulated this idea of hope so well that it's when we have experienced hardship and when we have overcome things in our life, we have kind of gained the credibility to be hopeful because we know what's possible. We've experienced it and we've been in the darkness. So if you're feeling that darkness, if you're feeling hopeless, I just invite you to remember other dark moments in your life, other dark experiences. And maybe you haven't had them. Maybe this is new for you. And you can consider other people in your life that have been through rough times and how they got out of it and how they held on to the belief in a better future or the belief in something bigger than themselves, even the belief that life is happening for them instead of to them, all of these things. And that's kind of like the first kind of key concept that I really think of when I think of hope, which is that when you can see others who have transcended difficult times, when you have really the ability to witness those who are able to alchemize darkness and harshness and unfairness, that I think looking at these examples can help us find hope again. Whether that's public figures, whether that's celebs, whether that's folks who are no longer on this earth, whether that's friends or family or folks in your work world that inspire you, that you know they've been through some things. When you consider these things, my hope is that you rediscover hope for yourself. Another kind of tool in my toolbox when I am feeling down and out and I'm feeling like nothing good is going to happen, I often pay attention and spend more time in nature. And the patterns that I see in nature remind me how there's always repair, there's always redemption. There's always the sun after the storm. There's always rebirth and regeneration after things die. And I've found a lot of hope when I go into nature, whether I'm looking at the limitless sky or I'm looking at the never ending horizon or I'm looking at the waves of the ocean. I remember that this world is so much bigger than me and that miracles are happening all around. Amazing things are happening all around me. And so it helps me to gain perspective. Gaining perspective is, I think, a big tool in the toolbox for rediscovering hope. Remembering these adages like this too shall pass, because change is constant. We used to have a saying when I was in marketing and I was, in the corporate grind, that you don't like something, don't worry, it's going to change tomorrow. Life is just happening at such a rapid pace. And I think we can sometimes forget that this moment will transform and become something else. Just remember that if you are listening and you're feeling so down and out, that this is just a blip in a moment of time. That when you look at the wholeness of your life experience, this is going to be such a minute moment in time. It's not going to last forever. You will see the rainbow after the rain. You will. So hang on tight. During these times where we find it difficult to find hope, I think what's also important is to stay away from comparison and getting fixated on looking at other folks because the wellness of hope, I think, is within us. And I think that what happens is life and world events and happenings, they pile on top of the hope that is natural and the hope that is human. Only humans have the capacity for hope. Nothing else, nobody else in this world has the capacity for hope. And so when we shut out the noise of negativity, when we shut out the comparison to what other people are feeling or doing or thinking, then we can come back to knowing ourselves. And in that stillness and in that quietness, I think we are able to rediscover what's possible and clear our head of some of the toxicity. Part of going through dark times where hope and faith and trust are hard to embrace, I want to remind you that it is only in the difficult times that we grow. We don't grow in the times of success and in the times of pure bliss. I mean, we might grow, but that's not going to be where the exponential growth is. That the walking through the mud, that's the lessons that we're here to learn to get to the other side of that and to be stronger for it. And it makes me think of my experience with going through my last keynote, right? Now, I had an incredible reception to my keynote in October that I gave. And there was lots of beautiful acknowledgments, and the survey results were phenomenal, and it was great. I let that stuff in. But that's not where my growth was. My growth was in the process of breaking down, fearing I wasn't going to remember what I wanted to say or remember the flow, fearing that I was going to get stuck, fearing that the messages weren't going to land and that I was going to be all over the place. The growth was in trusting myself, and the growth was in that journey of going through those difficult emotions and finding my way to the other side. And finding my way to the other side was not an individual sport. I had other people that I leaned on to remember who I am, to come back to who I am, and to find the trust and the faith and the hope again in myself and in the bigger picture of what I'm doing in the world. I know that it can be really easy when you're feeling like crap and you're feeling negative and you're feeling despondent to go inside into your own shell and just disappear. And this invitation is for you to reach out instead, to break that pattern of just doing it alone. Yeah, I'm talking to you. Don't keep doing it alone. That's the hard way. Then there's an easier way to come back to the light and come back to hope. And that is in reaching out to folks you trust, to folks that you think can help you find the resources that you need. And that might be therapy, and that might be just hanging around people that can sit with you in your emotion. That might be breaking you out of your patterns of maybe being at home every night. Maybe that's just going to the movies with somebody, or that's going to listen to live music, those things that bring you joy. Like those are the things that will get you out of the downward spiral and remind you that hope is not lost. All is not lost. You're just in this moment of feeling not your best, or this moment of feeling like it can't be different. And I'm telling you, it will be different. Things are going to change. A big part of how I've continued to try to evolve how I live my life is to stay out of things to worry about, to stay out of that spiral of worrying about something that I have no control over or that I can't do anything about. And instead, taking in hope as my medicine. Because it's really easy for us to spin and spin on what might happen, what could happen, and stress and stress. But if there's nowhere that we're placing that stress, if there's nothing that we're doing with it to alchemize the worry, we're just causing suffering on top of our own suffering. In a way, my life experiences had me do this and work on this muscle from a very early age because I was not in control of so much. Like, I was not in control of having to go through difficult things like the dozen surgeries that I had. I was not in control of the choice of like not going to the dentist. Like, I had to go to the dentist every month until I was 21. So there were things that I dreaded and I loathed, and I worked that muscle of my brain to focus on things that excited me, to focus on the slivers of sunshine that I saw, to really take in the good moments and not dismiss them, and allow those good moments to add and build and keep me going. And even, as an entrepreneur, I have been through the moments of hopelessness that this was going to work out, or like this was worth it, the journey of it. And I go back to looking for inspiration. Like I said earlier, that's like watching movies, that's maybe listening to my music that inspires me over and over and over again, and honoring that I needed that. Let me tell you also what's been a huge part of my journey when I feel hopeless or when I feel like I don't even know what to do now because I'm just so blah is I pull affirmation cards or oracle cards as a way to have a thought or an approach that I can anchor into and move forward from that place when I'm feeling that despondent, when I'm feeling like that hopeless. And there's always something in one of those cards that allows me to have a new perspective, to think about things differently. Because I think that's part of what hope is. How do we look at what's real and what's going on and find another narrative rather than the narrative that tells us nothing's going to change, this is only going to get worse, and all that stuff? Like maybe we have to look further out. Maybe we can't see how things are going to change in the short term, in the next month or the next 2 months. But it's about finding the light further down the line and saying, I'm here because I want that light. I'm here because I want that reality, because I want to believe that I can get to this other side of what I'm going through. I hope that this reminds you that there are tools in your toolbox to come back to a new way of looking at things, a way to move your energy, and a way to see that you don't have to do it alone. And that moving the energy piece, I didn't really get into that, but oh my gosh, that's a huge tool in my toolbox, right? Like anytime I'm in a terrible place, I'm in a bad mood, or I'm feeling hopeless, right? That I say, okay, I got to get up and move because that's what our thoughts and our feelings are. It's energy, right? Emotions are energy in motion, right? So move your tail, go for the walk, go to the gym, do something, go roller skating, go ice skating, do something physical with your body, move the energy. And you can do it with that intent, with the intent, I want to move this hopelessness out. I want to move this negativity out. I want to move these thoughts out of my mind that aren't serving me, that are bringing me down and dragging me, dragging me, dragging me. And you know what? Look, if you're listening to this and you're like, but Tosca, I don't know, I can't even start this, please feel free to reach out to me. It's easy to get a hold of me. My information's in the show notes. I'll help you find something, whether it's another resource, whether it's me just having a conversation with you. But if you're feeling down and out, please know that you can come to me. And there's lots of hotlines out there too if you are feeling like even on the edge of something really tragic. Please, there's hotlines out there to call and people waiting for you to support you. You're never alone. You're not alone. And there's communities, there's people, and there's places you can go to remember that a better tomorrow is always available. All right. So, gosh, like I know that this is like, wow, we're like right before the holidays, right? Like, is this like heavy? Yeah, sure. But I didn't want to pass up this opportunity because I feel like there's a lot of people that are going through a hard time. And I want you to know that it's okay. It's going to be okay. You're going to get through this and just take it moment by moment. Don't think about this evening. Don't think about tomorrow. Just take a deep breath, live in this moment, and know it's going to be all right. This too shall pass, my friends. All right. Thank you so much for being here, for tuning in. And please share this episode with anybody and everybody that you think is struggling right now, that needs to hear a message of hope, a message of some tools. And it can be that little thing of reaching out to somebody and saying, I see you. I know it's hard right now. And I thought of you when I heard this. I hope it helps. That's enough sometimes, to help people know they're not alone and that there are other people that care about them. So if you feel called, if somebody's coming to mind and you're like, oh, that's weird, I don't know why they came to mind, send it along because sometimes people can be in real tough places and it's really hard to see. because we hide it really well when we're struggling. And also, society can make us feel like it's not okay to be depressed, or it's not okay to be sad, or it's not okay to be hopeless. If you get that intuitive hit to send this to somebody, go right ahead and do it. Next, I want to share with you a little housekeeping note. For those of you who have been listening, you know that I launched this podcast weekly in the past year, with the exception of some holidays and the summer timeframe. Yes, 44 episodes in a year. And things are going to change in 2025, and I just wanted to let you know because it takes a lot of time and energy and resource to create these podcasts. And I want to pull back a little bit to give a little bit more space in between recordings and sessions, and giving you plenty of time to digest the information before diving into the next topic. So in 2025, you can expect the frequency to go down a little bit to maybe 2 or 3 times a month. As a solopreneur, it's important that I am mindful about how I'm spending my time and putting it to the best possible use. And this is going to be really helpful for me to focus on some other things in my business, like speaking engagements and applying to speaking opportunities and doing other things that allow me to stay connected to you, like doing more Instagram lives and just speaking topically about what's happening with me and the world. So I just wanted to give you a heads up. And hopefully, when my team grows and I have more resources, I can come back and do this a little bit more frequently. But thanks for just being here with me and for sticking with the growth of this podcast. I know it's going to just really do a lot of good next year. So I'm excited. I'm going to continue to bring guests on and also get on my soapbox. So none of that's going to change. All right. So, well, thank you so much for being with me right now, for the journey that we've been on together in 2024. And I hope you have a really awesome rest of the year. You can listen to all the other episodes if you are missing me in the next couple of weeks. There's plenty to go back to. I'm sure plenty you haven't listened to yet. So please go back into the archives, as it were. And I will be back in January. Probably not the first week, but definitely by mid-January, I will be back with a new episode. So thank you so much for tuning into the Unlock Lab, and ciao for now.